How's it going, everybody? Today I'm going to be doing a bit of a more long form predecessor tier list. I'm explaining my rationale, my reasoning. Got a couple of requests like, hey, your tier lists are so great, but you don't explain things long enough. I want a 1 hour long tier list video where everything is in detail. And I heard you loud and clear. And I'm here to give the people what they want. And I'm gonna start. I think usually I go in order, but this time I'm gonna do things a bit differently. I'm gonna start at the top and work my way down. I'm gonna go ahead and put at the top of S tier as the best character in the game right now. I'm gonna go ahead and lock that in as Lieutenant Bellica. Now, there's a couple reasons why I believe Lieutenant Bellica to be the strongest character. First and foremost is her role viability. She is a beast in the mid lane, a demon on support, and I'm sure you could pull it off solo as well. The amount of utility she brings to a team fight with her knockup is incredible. She is able to one-shot combo a lot of characters in the game with a knockup, empowered auto with a obelisk tick. You use your circle ability and then you shoot them again, drop a ult, and they die, and they're stunned the whole time. Not a whole lot you can do against it. She's a bully in the support lane, pretty much bullies out all the other supports. Incredible power. Mana drain is good. Her knockup is just super strong. All around a top contender. She can be a little tricky to play, not having a dash or any movement, but you gotta just be able to line up those knockups and really put someone down into the dirt. So Bellica is going to be taking the top of the tier list best possible character you could pick right now. Next up, I'm going to actually slap Argus back up into S tier. The last tier list, with all the nerfs, I brought him down a little bit. Hadn't really seen him doing that great, but I've been playing a lot recently, and Argus seems to still kind of be an absolute powerhouse. They didn't really, they nerfed him a tiny bit, but he can still stun you from a mile away. Can still slow you a lot, pull you in, incredible amounts of damage. His ultimate still goes through walls. All in all, he's still kind of the same menace, just a little less menacing than he once was on release, but still ultimately just top of the line. Hard to beat as a support, he really just bullies all the other supports. Like, why would you play Dekker with a hard to hit small stun that does a little bit of damage when you can play Argus with an easy to hit big stun, goes even farther, does an incredible amount of damage, and you have just so much more versatility. All in all, I'd say these are your real top pick, top contenders right now. And there is one other character I'm going to slap into the S tier, and that's going to be my boy Kwang. Kwang, or Kwang, is I've been seeing him a lot recently, and he always seems to be doing well. He's a monster in the solo lane. I think possibly the best jungler right now, and just has incredible amounts of damage, very hard to kill, all around a great pick, and I am going to slap him up into the S tier. Looking at the rest of the draft, I think that might be it for the S tier picks, and I'm going to move us down into A tier now. And I'm going to go ahead and put Wraith up here in the A tier. I think if you're really good on Wraith, he could even be considered an S tier hero. However, I'm going to bring him down a little bit just because I don't think he's quite as just blatantly hard to deal with as these three. He's got the mana refund on his snipe, so you can just infinitely snipe people. The thing about Wraith is you gotta play him a lot smarter, you gotta really think more than some of these other characters. You can kind of pick these and just oonga boonga, use your combo on people and they get clapped. Wraith, you know, you gotta ward, you gotta think about when you're gonna rewind people. You gotta be able to aim those snipes, it's a skill shot. But all in all, I have found Wraith to just be an absolute dominant force in the meta. Next up, another Dominator. I think I'm gonna put Steel as the next best character. Looking at all these, Steel's kind of just jumping out at me as an absolute behemoth. Probably besides Argus and Bellica, the best support. He's probably the best tank support. His engagements are crazy. He has 3 stuns in his kit. He's got the dash, he's got the shield slam, and he's got his ultimate. Incredible utility, so many stuns. He's got a big wall, hard to kill, great in the support, great in the solo. I've seen him do well in jungle. All in all, just a roundhouse of a beast. You build him tanky, build him maybe a little damage, and just start crunching people up and turning them into gravel. Next up, looking on the tier lists, looking at Greystone and Riktor up next. I think I'm going to put Greystone up here. Greystone is sort of just a solo lane behemoth. Very few characters can beat Greystone in the lane. He's nearly impossible to gank. If you're playing the jungler and you see that they have a Greystone, a lot of times you're better off just not even going to that lane to try to gank him. Greystone with the crest that lets him get an extra life has essentially 3 lives you gotta whittle down. You gotta kill him once, and you gotta kill him twice, and then you gotta kill him a 3rd time, and that's just too many times. You build him tanky, he's unkillable, you build some damage on him, he claps everybody. Just an all-around powerhouse character. Very hard to deal with, hard to gank, hard to kill. Just a great all-around pick for the A tier. Next up, I'm looking at Riktor. I think I'm gonna put Riktor up here. Riktor is a beast, but he's a little trickier to play than Steel. Riktor, you know, he's a high risk, high reward character. If you risk it all and hit that hook, you're getting the reward. But if you miss that hook, and say you're playing against Bellica, you miss your hook and she just knocks you up, you're kind of cooked there. He's easily punished, but he's also easy to punish other people. I wouldn't say easy because you got to hit that hook, which is probably, I'm going to say, the hardest ability to hit in the game. It's up there at least. That Riktor hook, got to be at least top 3 hardest abilities to hit. He's still a menace though. His ultimate locks people down. He's got good damage, good initiation, kind of hard to kill. All in all, a great pick. Just an absolute beastly menace. Next up, speaking about beastly menaces, I think I'm gonna put Rampage up here. Rampage is just an absolute monster when he has his ultimate. You can jump halfway across the map, instantly rock somebody in the head, and they're probably cooked. Most of the time, they're probably getting their goose cooked right there. Great jungle clear, very hard to kill. Just incredible amounts of health regen in the jungle. Just all in all, a top tier jungler. Absolute menace. And not really somebody you want to mess with. Looking at the rest of these characters, the A tier is looking kind of rounded out. I'm leaning towards putting Murdock in there. Leaning towards putting Gideon in there. Howitzer's pretty good too. Khaimera is good. I'm gonna go ahead and next up I'm gonna slip old Murdock in there. Murdock is just an incredible powerhouse. Being able to snipe somebody across the map for a respectable amount of damage, his ult definitely hurts, is just very valuable. He's hard to beat in lane. He's kind of tricky to gank with his movement speed and his traps. His shotgun hits like a truck. All in all, a great pick. If you're looking to play the carry role, and Wraith is a little too tricky, a little too cerebral, you just want to point and click and shoot, that's going to be your Murdock right there. And lastly, I do think I am going to go ahead and slap the Gideon in there, in the A tier. Gideon is just an all-around great pick. He's simple, straightforward, effective, hard to gank. He's got his teleport, has a great teamfight ultimate, good damage, hard to kill. Just a great pick all around. He's a beast in the mid lane. I've seen him go other lanes. If you're looking for a good mid laner and you don't really like Bellica or Argus, you want someone with a little more mobility, I would look into Gideon here. And I think that might... I'm going to actually slap Howitzer in the A tier as well. I think Howitzer is a beast. He actually does beat Gideon and sometimes these other two in the mid lane. He's got great range on his rocket. His ultimate hits like a truck. His mine can be a little trickier to place, but all in all, I tend to see Howitzer's doing very well. He is a bully. Great pick. Incredible amounts of damage. Easy to get your farm up. You just kind of sit in the mid lane with him and just plounk anybody who comes your way with a rocket. And all in all, I'd say that probably is going to round out the A tier for me. Maybe I think I'm gonna put Khaimera here too, just to round it off. I think the lower in rank you go, the better Khaimera becomes. But as soon as you start getting into some of the higher ranked games, people kind of know how to play around Khaimera. He starts to fall off in the mid to late game and can definitely be punished. He doesn't have an escape, so he's kind of easy to catch out. But, you know, early game Khaimera is definitely just a monster jungler. Clears fast, ganks fast, omnipresent. If you're playing against Khaimera, it seems like he's always ganking you every couple minutes. Just a great pick, a very easy, simple jungler. If Kwang and Rampage are a little too tricky for you, check out Khaimera, because he is still a beast. I'm going to have to put him A tier for that. Next up in the B tier, I think I'm going to put Twinblast. Let me keep looking around. Maybe actually... There's a couple characters who I think would be good here. I'm looking at Crunch, Serath, Kallari. But honestly, I would probably put Twinblast here. He's a good hunter. I feel like I'm never really scared of Twinblasts, is the only thing. I'm never like, oh no, this Twinblast is going to kill me in a couple shots like a Murdock or a Wraith will. He's sort of just poking you down. He's like a whittler. But he is kind of elusive. Can be tricky to gank. All in all, I'd say Twinblast is pretty good. Put him in the B. Next up, we're gonna get Crunch here. Crunch, he likes to punch. He's a menace in the jungle. Good in the solo lane. He's got a fat damage combo, and with the Flux Crest, able to reset your cooldowns. You use all your abilities. Flux Crest, rewind back, use all your abilities again. You're hitting like at least 2 uppercuts that fight, and that's gonna get you. It's gonna get you a lot of wins. I'd say Crunch is a great pick. I don't think he's quite as oppressive or blatantly OP as the rest of these other ones, but he is still very strong. All in all, a good pick in his own right. Next up, I'm gonna put Kallari here. I think if you have what it takes to play Kallari, if you know how to play her, you know the rotations, you know how to wait and perfectly time your engagements, and how to kind of be like an omnipresent, invisible threat, Kallari can be an absolute monster to deal with. The Kallari gank is very strong. It can definitely catch you lacking. If you're just sitting in the mid lane, you know, playing Bellica or Argus, and Kallari comes out of nowhere and throws 2 daggers into your neck, you know, you're not really going to have a great time. It is a good pick, definitely harder to play. Not everybody's going to be succeeding on it, but when they are, it is definitely not fun to deal with, and Kallari is a beast for that. Next up on the tier list here, I'm probably going to put Serath. I think Serath is very strong. Serath from ahead, if you get this character fed, it's pretty much game over. But Serath from even is pretty good. She's definitely strong. Definitely in the top, you know, 50 percentile of strength. But she can be easier to shut down. You know, she's kind of squishy. If she's ahead, it's basically GG loss. But if she's just like on par with the other characters, you can deal with Serath. She is very strong though, definitely a powerhouse, incredible amounts of damage, good survivability with her flying move and her invulnerability thing. All in all, still a great pick. If you're looking for a jungler or offlaner, Serath is still very strong. Next up, I think I'm going to put Countess here. I have been sleeping on Countess, I'll admit it. I've been playing a little more Countess recently. You've really just got to get kind of through the first couple of levels on her, which she can be easily outpoked in the mid lane by a lot of these other characters. But once you get like an item online and a couple levels on you, she turns into a serious threat. Able to one-shot a lot of characters with her combo. She can be kind of spry and hard to lock down with her teleport. Big amounts of burst damage. Fun character. All in all, a great pick. Good damage. Not the most survivability. It's hard to kind of run away with her if you got to get out. But she's good at going in. She's good at picking off a target and really shutting somebody down. And then last up in the B tier, I think I'm going to put my boy Grux Nasty. Now, Grux is just an absolute beast in the lane. Level 1 through 6, honestly, like the first half of the game, Grux is nigh unstoppable. He basically beats everybody in lane, but late game, he starts to fall off. Team fights, you know, he's not really the best in a team fight. He does kind of fall down a little bit. He's not the best jungler, but in the solo lane, if you want to snowball a lead and start pushing your lead, Grux is the way to go. He just does so much damage. Got a good amount of sustain with his bleed. And all in all, he's really hard to fight at the beginning of the game. All around beast. But I have seen a lot of people try to go Grux jungle. I don't think it's very good. You know, I've seen the late game Gruxes just not really be able to pull off what they want to do. Say they're trying to kill like a Wraith or a Murdock, and they just shoot him down before you can even make it close enough to him. And I think that might round off the tier list. I'm tempted to put, I think at the high level, like the very high end, Zarus is a very good pick. But for your average Joes, for your regular players, for your new players, I really just haven't seen Zarus be an unstoppable monster like I've seen some of these other characters. But I've basically played a game in which all of these characters at one point have just been unstoppable forces that just are so powerful. But I'm not really seeing that with Zarus, if I'm being honest. I think at the high level, he's like an A tier and S tier. But at the average level, I'm going to be honest, I'm just not really seeing it too much. And I might have to put him into C tier. A lot of people aren't going to like this, you know, your top ranks, your Grandmaster players. But for your average schmuck, you know, your plat, your gold, your silver, your bronze, just not seeing Zarus pop off like he really should. Next up, I think we're gonna put Drongo. I think Drongo's, you know, these are all just kind of like average run-of-the-mill characters. You know, they can be clacking, they can have that thing on them, but most of the time they're kind of just doing all right. Nothing crazy. Same kind of goes for Kira, just like hunters that are pretty good. Honestly, I think I'm gonna bring Twinblast down here. These hunters are all just kind of like, in my eyes, all right, you know, middle of the road. Not OP, not underpowered. They're fine. They're good. You know, they'll do the trick. Are you better off picking Murdock or Wraith? Yeah, probably. But can they still do the job? You're darn right. Speaking of can do the job, we got Dekker up next. I think Dekker is a strong support, but she just kind of gets outclassed by Argus. Like, why would you pick Dekker when you could just go Argus instead? And for that, it kind of brings her down a little bit. The range on her stun is incredible, don't get me wrong. Hitting that long range dink and just watching that person get smoked. Very rewarding, very satisfying. Her cage is good, you can keep people locked down. Her ultimate's alright, it's got like a stun on it or a slow. Pretty strong. She's pretty solid in the lane, but all in all, I'd put her kind of just middle of the pack. Nothing crazy. No one's gonna say, oh, Dekker's OP. They're gonna be like, oh yeah, Dekker, yeah, she's pretty good. I'd put her kind of middle of the pack, pretty good, but definitely not OP. Another hunter, I'm gonna finish off with Sparrow here in the C tier. I've been sleeping on Sparrow since the beginning of time. I see a character with no dash, I play a jungler, I just jump on them, kill them over and over and over. But Sparrow, she's got a lot of damage. If you're good on Sparrow, you can hit all your shots, and you get to that late game, you're kind of an unstoppable force, as long as they don't have any crazy CC to lock you down. I do think Sparrow's good. I think early game, her wave clear is good. She's pretty good in the lane. She's just very easy to gank, is the only problem. But her damage output is still incredible. Don't sleep on it. Still, all in all, you know, an alright pick. Like, these picks are fine. You're going to win some games, you're going to lose some games. But all in all, you'll be doing alright. And then I think finishing off the C tier, I think I'm going to put Morigesh up next here. I think Morigesh is fine. Her early game is very strong. I think she can really bully people out early game. However, I found a lot of the time that her mid game kind of falters. You just gotta get too close with Morigesh. You gotta get a little too close, and these characters can just catch you lacking. You get a little too close to a Argus, to a Kwang, to a Steel, a Wraith, a Bellica, a Greystone. They're gonna punish you. They're gonna show you not to do that again. So she is definitely more punishable. However, you can really like run away with the game in the beginning, catching people lacking. She's got great sustain and lane, good healing, and surprisingly good at taking down Fangtooths. If you and a jungler, you know, go to your Fangtooth, she can really whittle it down with her tick damage. And then last up in the C tier, I think I am gonna put Muriel. Next up, Muriel I think is good. You know, these characters are all good. They're fine. They'll do what they gotta do. But you play the Muriel support, you're kind of just gonna get beat out by some of these other blokes. If you're cracked on Muriel and you pull her out in the mid lane, full damage Muriel, it can be pretty nice. If you're cracked on any of these characters, you can definitely like run away with a game, don't get me wrong. But all in all, you know, have I seen Muriel's really popping off? Not really. Am I like super frustrated when I'm against a Muriel? Not really. Kind of just doing like alright. Just fair, a fine pick, Muriel. You know, you're a fine selection. And I'm gonna put her in the C tier for that. Next up, we got the Feng Mao. people love Feng Mao. I love Feng Mao. And everyone thinks for some reason he's like S tier, he's a great pick. But I'm just going to keep it a band with you. I have literally, in my probably 200 games of Predecessor I've played, I've never seen Feng Mao popping off. I always see him like doing either okay or struggling or just like not great. I'm gonna be honest, this is just like what I've seen, what I've personally experienced. You know, I've watched the pro games, I've watched the tournaments. They love the Feng Mao. But for your average Joe and your regular Timmy, he's not great. I'm gonna be honest. Just not a great pick. And another pick that I found at the beginning of the game, I was like, oh, this character's OP. These days, Narbash, I'm not really seeing him do that great. I'm gonna be honest. He just gets outclassed by Bellica and Argus. His whole thing is like being able to heal your carry, which is nice, don't get me wrong, the sustain is very valuable. But what's better than healing your carry is just killing the enemy carries, which these characters all do way better. Narbash, I just don't see him usually doing that great. Yeah, I'm never really like scared of a Narbash. I'm like, oh, they got a Narbash, that should be easy pickings. Like, what's he gonna do, thunk me? Oh no, it thunked me for like 100 damage and I'm stunned for like 1 second. Whereas these other characters, they stun you for like 3 seconds and do about all your health and damage. So yeah, Narbash, I just haven't really seen him doing that great recently, if I'm being honest. Next up, not really doing that great, if I'm being honest, is going to be the Sevarog. I love Sevarog. I'm a Sevarog main, I think, deep down. But I'm just going to be real with you. He gets outclassed in the jungle by most of the other junglers. His early game is incredibly weak. His late game's good, don't get me wrong, but getting to late game from behind when you're like behind the whole game can be tough. You know, why would you go Sevarog when you could just go like a Kwang or a Rampage who are just way better? He kind of gets bullied in the solo lane by just about all the solo laners. He's got a couple of good matchups where you can do pretty well, but he's not really a threat for the first like good chunk of the game, which can really just let your team fall behind. It's very hard to snowball on him. You know, sure, late game, 30 minutes in, when you got a bunch of stacks, he's pretty good. But even then, if you're like full tank 30 minutes in, and you try to pull up on, you know, your Argus, your Bellica, your Murdock, they can usually kind of just clap you down before you're able to kill them. He's not great. The Sevarogs I see in my games, you know, like sure, they can be elusive sometimes. They're kind of hard to kill, hard to gank. But they're never really popping off, hard carrying, and just dominating the game like a lot of these other high tier picks are. Like I've seen a Khaimera dominate a game so many times. Can't really say the same for any of these characters down here. These ones, you know, I have seen it. These ones are usually doing good. These ones are pretty much always doing good, and these ones are just blatantly OP. And next up, I guess I'll put Gadget into D tier for that one guy who said to put some respect on Gadget's name because she has the voice line, "Here's a hat." That is a good voice line. It is going to bring her up in a D tier. I think her ultimate is fine. It's, you know, you can kind of just like walk out of it is the only problem. She kind of gets bullied in the lane. Her damage isn't great. Her survivability is okay with her little running speed up gait. You know, and here's a hat is kind of annoying. She's got a lot of range on it, but it really just, you know, you hit someone with a Gideon rock, they're about half health in like the mid to late game. You hit someone with a hat, it does maybe 10% of their health. And Gideon has 2 rocks. He can hit you with 1 rock and another rock, and that's, you're getting cooked. Gadget, she's got to throw out a little hat and then wait for a little bit, and then she throws out another hat, and just, I never really see Gadget doing good. anytime I'm in the mid lane and they have a gadget, I'm like, oh yes, this is just gonna be easy. It's like a free win in the mid lane, basically. All in all, I'm sorry to all you gadget fans. I'd like her to be better, but I'm just really not seeing it. Next up, I'm gonna put FaZe in the D tier. The problem with FaZe is she's just too easy to gank. Yes, she's kind of a bully in the lane. You know, you got your FaZe linked to your Sparrow, and they're gonna hurt. They're gonna root you, shoot you. Not gonna be great. But when it comes to team fights, when it comes to ganks, when it comes to rotating, FaZe kind of just falls under the bus and gets run over by a lot of these other picks. I'm just not really seeing FaZe popping off too much. Like, yeah, she's annoying. If you're a new player, she can seem OP with her root. But all in all, you kind of just got to play around it, you know, hug a corner, dip out of the way, try to juke the root when it's going off. And end of the day, if you're getting clapped by a FaZe, just learn how to play a good jungler and just go and gank them on repeat, because they don't really have any way to run away. I think that might round off the D tier here. And next up, we got the F tier, the worst characters in the game, in my opinion. We're going to start things off here with Revenant. Revenant just blows. Unfortunately, he gets outsmoked by pretty much every other character. The only way Revenant is doing good is if you are just better than whoever you're against. Then, sure, you could run away with the game. You could really start clapping. But if I'm being honest, you know, on an even playing field, Revenant kind of gets beat by everybody. Bellica absolutely ruins him. Argus ruins him. Wraith ruins him. Murdock claps him. Pretty much everyone beats Revenant in a lane. You know, a late game Revenant, you can hit all your shots, you're doing a lot of damage. He's definitely a threat. But, I mean, he just sucks, I'm being honest. You never really see the Revenant winning. If he is, it's because, like, this guy's just cracked who's playing him and is just a Revenant specialist, which you can see. But for your average Joe and Jolene, Revenant kind of just blows, if I'm being honest. Another character that blows is Shinbi. Saw a lot of Shinbi for a while. These days I have not seen too much Shinbi. She gets beat in the solo lane. She gets beat in the jungle. Her ganks aren't that scary. She really is only good against people that, like, really are new and suck and just don't know how to play against her. Like, her ultimate, it will catch you off guard if you don't know what it is. But if you kind of know what she wants to do, she's pretty easy to deal with. Doesn't have any good CC. Doesn't really have any good damage. Kind of just, like, has two little dashes and a lot of annoying anime sounds. Really, all in all, not a great pick. Another pick that's not great is going to be this Fae. Still to this day, I have yet to be beat by a Fae. I'm never scared of them. Like, oh, what are they going to do? Tickle me a little bit and then maybe use their ultimate and run away? Yeah, I've seen some Faes pop off with their ults and hit like one fat ult and win a team fight. But she pretty much always loses the lane. Not really a threat. Doesn't have like any good mobility, so it's kind of hard for her to go gank and rotate. Just all in all, I'm not seeing Fae pop off. And that's going to leave us with the worst character in the game, in my opinion, which is going to be the Iggy and Scortch. This dude's just a free kill. He's basically a XP camp. If you play any jungler worth your salt, a Kwang, Khaimera, Rampage, heck, even Sevarog can go gank an Iggy and Scortch. Put him in the dirt. And he just doesn't have enough damage to really be a threat. His whole thing is like putting up his 3 turrets and kind of dancing around them and having the turrets kill you before you can kill him. But they just don't do enough damage to threaten you. You could be a jungler and sit in those turrets for like a full minute and still won't die. Iggy and Scortch, he just blows. And I think this is going to be the tier list. I broke it down pretty well. Go ahead and go follow Joe yours truly. I do enjoy his videos. I think this tier list is pretty fair. You know, a lot of you Gadget enthusiasts are not going to love me for this. Your Feng Mao lovers, your Fae supporters, your Revenant enjoyers. Look, I love me some Revenant, but this boy just sucks. Love me some Sevarog, he sucks. Feng Mao, I love him, but he's just not really great. So, if you're going to take away anything from this video, a good rule of thumb would just be S tier. These guys are just blatantly OP, always a good pick. Going to beat pretty much everybody. The A tier, very strong characters, you know, going to require a little more skill, a little more gameplay sense, but all in all, just dominant powerhouses. Your B tiers, very strong characters still in their own right, but can kind of be shut down by some of these other ones, or have, you know, some sort of weakness that gets them, like Grux doesn't really have any mobility, kind of falls off late game. You know, Kallari takes her a while to clear. Crunch, very susceptible to CC. They all kind of got one thing that makes them not OP, but still very strong, can run away with the game. These ones are all just fine, you know, your average Joes, run-of-the-mill characters, you know. You see them doing good, you see them doing bad, you see them in the middle. Nothing spectacular, they're all just kind of alright, you know, they can excel, they can run away with a game. You know, I've been clapped by the Sparrows, I've been clapped by the Kiras, but the percentage of times that I've lost to a Kira compared to the times I've lost to, like, I don't know, a Kwang or a Bellica or a Khaimera, it's just not adding up. Your D tiers, these characters are going to be, I would say, kind of bad. You can pull them off, you can still make them work. Don't get me wrong, they're still playable, they're still annoying, strong in their own ways, but kind of just gets outclassed by these other bunches. The F tier guys pretty much always suck. Like, sure, you can pop off with them if you're a Shinbi specialist or a Revenant specialist. You can make them work, you can still pull that thing out and lay it down, hit someone with a fat 1000 crit, but all in all, I think this tier list is pretty fair. I've done some research, you know, I've gone into some top-ranked players' Twitch chats. I ask them who they think the best character is, who they think the worst. You know, I've seen the videos, I've watched the National Cups, the PCCs. Got about 200 games under my belt. And I've played in the low ranks with some new friends, you know, your bronzes, your silver, your golds. I've played in some of the higher ranks, you know, the plats, the diamonds. And in the plats and diamonds, you're seeing a lot of these guys. In the low ranks, you're seeing a lot of chimeras, and still a good bit of these guys. You're not really seeing these guys a whole lot, and if you do see them, you're like, oh, good, they have a Sevarog. That means I can just, like, freely invade their jungle, or, like, I don't have to worry about getting ganked too much. Oh, they have a Gadget, cool, I can just beat them up all time. And yeah, I think that's gonna do it. Thanks for watching. This has been a long-form video. Comment down below what you would change, you Gadget enthusiasts, you Revenant lovers, you Feng Mao specialists, your Zarus one-trickers. Just comment down below what you would change, why you think I'm wrong, why you think I'm a dumb idiot with no brain, who's just a simpleton. But all in all, I'd say this tier list holds up for all levels of play, except for maybe like the top 1%. You could probably move Feng Mao and Zarus up a little bit. But all in all, I think this tier list holds up. Tell me what you think. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this sort of content, you want some more guides, stick around, you know, smash that subscribe. I'll be dropping some tutorials, some playthroughs, some wonky stuff. Got a Muriel mid lane game coming up. Thanks for watching. Hope you liked it. See ya.